Okay, you guys. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Jeneth Blackard,
And I'm Lyanca Reina.
and this is the Hot Hustle Show. And today we're talking with Meg Haworth, and her focus and her life's work is all about helping you heal from narcissistic folks. And I just found when I read the title of your site, could your illness from your childhood be causing you to be sick or something to the tune of that? And I thought, oh my gosh, I've got to interview this woman because clearly there's I know, and Lyanca knows, and some other people, especially the people in this line, really know that so many of the energetics of our childhood, of even teen years, gets like locked into our bodies, and we get stuck with this, and we get stuck with these narratives and these stories that are really keeping us from truly living our best lives
And being healthy.
and being healthy. So let's talk. How did you get into this work? I think you might even need to explain what narcissism is, because we were both like, it took me a while to even realize. I didn't want to use that name. It sounded so harsh.
Yeah.
So let's start there.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, can you hear me okay? Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. All right. So that went off for a second there. For some reason it's not picking up my microphone, but as long as it is, people can hear me, we're all good. So at any rate, the way I got started into working with really the effect of abuse, childhood abuse on the physical body over time it was my own story. And I had over a dozen illnesses by the time I was in my 20s, when most people are out there having a good time. I was in bed, like sometimes for weeks at a time. Get these severe muscle spasms in my neck and upper back from scoliosis. They would just give me drugs and say, go to bed and let's do surgery, that kind of thing. I had depression, I had ulcers, irritable bowel syndrome, migraine headaches, endometriosis, like the list went on and on. And at that time, I didn't understand. It took me a while to put it together. But as I started to research and try to figure out what is going on with me, one of the things was food allergies, which is how I ended up becoming a holistic chef. And then the other piece, because the food allergies only took me so far, and I really helped so much, but there was still so much anxiety and so much fear. And so when I started to really study that and work with that connection between emotions and how they affect the physical body over time, I got introduced to psychoneuroimmunology, the field of mind-body medicine, and I was just hooked. I was like, this is it. This is the thing. And then when I found transpersonal psychology, which is what my doctorate is in, that's when everything just took off, because the healing was so rapid, so much more rapid than traditional psychotherapy, which I'm not knocking. I think it's necessary for survivors of narcissistic abuse. But it is, it's just slower. So I found that I got in one session more than I got out of 15 years of therapy. And that's why I ended up becoming a transpersonal psychologist, to help people with this holistic perspective of healing from abuse. And narcissistic abuse, I think, is one of the biggest problems of our time. People are discovering it. People who, they call me all the time, they're in their 50s, 60s. They're like, I finally see what my parents did to me all along, and why I ended up with a narcissistic husband or wife. And yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Will you talk a little bit about what a narcissistic person is?
Yeah. So one of the most dangerous parts about a narcissistic person is that they have no empathy, which means that they're just not able to feel with you. So when you have a parent who doesn't feel with you, they're always disconnected from you emotionally. And so you grow up with this emotional neglect piece that's really, really difficult to deal with. The other thing about narcissists is that they will be completely self-involved. In other words, they see everything in the world as relating to them. And that's one of the things that empathy gives us, is that ability to really relate to another person and say, oh, that must be so hard for you. But a narcissist is unable to do that. It's like, I see it as it's usually, I think, associated with trauma, childhood trauma for them. And I see it almost as like a decision where they make this decision that I'm not going to let love in, I'm not going to let love out. And growing up with a parent like that is a really difficult thing. So those are the two major things, is that lack of empathy and ability to really be able to feel with your child, and to be so self-involved that everything becomes about them. And that's really the cry of the narcissist, is it's all about me. And so you
Right.
end up learning to be in service to that person. And then if you're sensitive and empathic and intuitive and all of those things, you end up becoming usually a codependent people pleaser, which, hey, I understand what that one's like.
Right. Yes, yes. What are some of those telltale signs that you can, when you are interacting or have a relationship with a narcissistic person? Or is that too big of a question? Because as I say it, I'm like, well,
And and I think that just shows how damaged they were too.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of compassion that can be given there.
Now, because there's different types of narcissists, there's the grandiose, there's two major categories, and the covert. The covert is more like, oh, look at me, poor me. There's always something wrong.
Yeah.
You're supposed to fix this for me. And that
Uh-huh.
gets that message really early on. And then the other piece is the grandiose narcissist, where it's all about them, no matter what type of narcissist they are, but they have an overinflated sense of self, because they've created it. They've created like this fantasy world, in order to really survive their own trauma. It's a shame-driven disorder. And so that's one thing that you'll see with a narcissist, is they use shame as a tool to wear away at other people, because they're not willing to look at their own shame. And that's another way to tell about a narcissist is, are they willing to look at their own part in things? They do not take responsibility. They will not take responsibility. They don't even understand the concept. And I think that's a big part where empathy plays a lot into the disorder. It's like, if you
Yeah.
can't see yourself and how you're treating other people and how that can affect them, you can't really participate in a relationship in a way that's healthy. So, and
Yeah.
that's a big issue with narcissists.
Well, let's transition a little into what to do if you're in a position. I don't want to use victim, but if you're a victim of narcissists.
It's a fair word. It really is,
It
because
is.
you are victimized. You are, a lot of us therapists who work in this arena will say it's death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah.
Every single day, just they whittle away, and they can whittle away at you with just being so sweet and so nice, and all of the confusion that comes along with that. The smoke and mirrors aspect of being around a narcissist is just endless, So I see you laughing there. Yeah, it's like, yeah.
It's almost like gaslighting a little bit.
It is.
Yeah,
I
not necessarily on purpose from their, well,
they
I don't know.
I so I've subscribed to like a narcissistic newsletter, and after I started to dive in and really know that I play a codependent person in a lot of my relationships, I wanted to know what the other side looks like. And when you say sometimes that they do gaslight, and it's a tool, am I correct in saying that?
Absolutely. They're master manipulators, and gaslighting is a way to make the other person believe that they're crazy. So it takes the focus off of the narcissist as being the problem and puts it on the victim. And then the victim, I mean, every single person who comes to me says, Dr. Meg, am I a narcissist? And I always say, well, if you're even asking that question, that's a
I've
good,
asked it.
because you're being you're self-examining, and a narcissist won't do that. So, but they will believe at some point, oh, maybe I'm the problem because they're constantly shown and told that they're the problem. And when you grow up with this kind of parent, you grow up in this self-blame, self-shame cycle that's not easy to get out of, but it's very freeing when you do. So,
Wow. So if one of our callers knows that they're a victim of this,
mhm.
like where would you have to start with the story or the your problem to help them free themselves of it?
So I meet them where they are.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever the thing is that's up for them, where they feel like the most damage has happened in their lives, and that's why I identified these five primary wounds
Right.
of parental narcissistic abuse in general, so that they can see, like, well, is it their self-esteem? Like they have zero self-confidence, they can't seem to get a job or hold down a job or that kind of thing, or they feel like they're a total imposter in everything that they do because they
They're always wrong. Yeah.
see themselves, they're always wrong. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
They never get it right, those kinds of the self-talk. So if somebody's really ruminating and that's the dominant thing in their lives, just is telling, they're beating themselves up constantly. They're literally uh, re-abusing through this voice that gets reinforced by the narcissist and really programmed into their minds. And this can happen at any point in your life with a narcissistic relationship, not just
Yeah.
with a narcissistic parent.
Well, let's go through those five pillars so that everyone kind of knows and can look at their life and go through it. And then would it be okay if we took a few callers for you to help
Absolutely.
mini sessions? Okay.
Yeah, that would be great. So,
Yeah, we already have some hands raised. And I think that one of the most fascinating things is that many times people just don't know that they're in one of these types of relationships. I mean, completely blind. And I was for a long time. Yeah.
yeah, because again, it's the smoke and mirrors,
Yeah.
when they're hoovering you in, they can be so sweet
Oh man, it's it's
and
turned up.
compelling, and you think soulmates, and but then the rage bursts and the criticisms that are really cut deep. Like they take the thing that you're most sensitive about, and then they so yeah.
Yeah. Wait, can we go through the five pillars real
Yes,
quick?
yes, I'm
That's
sorry.
what
So the five primary wounds. So the first one is self-esteem,
Okay.
self-worth, how you feel about yourself. That's one that I've seen I call us ACONs, adult children of narcissists. And ACONs have been conned into believing all these things about themselves
Oh,
are not true.
Mm-hmm.
And it really, because the narcissist is a master manipulator and a con artist, and they're conning you into their reality. And as soon as you name the reality, and say, hey, wait a minute, there's a problem here, you shatter their worldview, and then they just lose it. And then you're the recipient of all the abuse from them losing it. So anyway, what that does to self-esteem and self-worth and your own value is it really muddies it. So you can take a really strong person, and a lot of narcissists will go after really strong, confident people because they are an amazing source of supply.
yes.
I like the word energy, like because it's really an energy dynamic. They're
Interesting.
bragging on your energy, and you feel literally drained, slimed, feel by the person, you know, on you. So anyway, so self-esteem, self-worth is a big wound. Self-expression is another big wound because they don't let you be who you are because they're trying to control your every move. You're supposed to be there for them, so being yourself is not okay. So being
Wow.
self-expressed it's not something, they're not going to pull that out in their children or in their mates. They might at first, because that's how they reel you in. They'll be like, oh my God, you're so amazing. You're the most person I've ever met. I love what you do. And then they start whittling away at what you do. and your own self-expression. And because self-expression has to do with the fifth center of the human energy system in the throat, communication, self-expression, willpower, choice, all those things get taken away. And
Wow.
I often refer to this as a prison of silence, where they're silencing you. Not supposed to tell anybody what's going on in the home. You're not supposed to speak up and defend yourself. Oh boy. You're not supposed to do any of that stuff. So yes, so that's the first one is self-esteem and how that whittles away at that, and self-expression. I think one of the worst things they do is they take away your identity. So self-identity really wrapped up in your self-expression and your self-worth. That's how you identify as a human, like what is it you love? What is it you want to do? What's the core essence of you? Your core essence is not going to be celebrated unless it
Benefits them.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then behind
Interesting.
closed doors, it's going to be taken down notch by notch. And then people will be shocked, like, no, he or she's would never, like, they're so nice. They're so amazing. They're a pillar of the community, they're so
Yes.
Well, they have to be right in that community too. I mean, I think, don't they make their life all about being right?
oh yes, they're
Yeah.
very, very rigid thinkers. So yeah,
Okay, so we've got self-identity, self-esteem, self-expression.
yes,
Is there two more?
yes, self-trust. Huge one. It's not just self-trust, but it's trusting everyone else.
Yeah.
So it really disconnected from our intuitive selves. And this is one of the things I help people do, is to develop their intuition so that they can be more self-trusting and more self-reliant. They don't want you to hear your own inner voice.
Wow.
Hear theirs. Their voice is it's all about domination, really,
Yeah.
and control. So self-trust is a thing that really gets shattered. And then your trust in other people, because you're just, how did I let that in? And then you beat yourself up. It's like, no, they're the one they did it. It's like Dr.
Yeah.
Money's new book, It's Not You.
Right.
Like what a great title.
It's not your fault.
Not
That's like the biggest.
your fault.
Yeah.
You're being thrown. I always say they throw you under the bus so many times you're a pancake.
Oh,
Just,
Wow.
and then they do it to other people too. So
yes.
it's a threat to them.
Yeah. Well, and this is more common than we know, right? Like this is, I mean, I think everyone probably knows of a person like this. Is there a study or a fact around that?
There's
Do you know about?
around it. And they say it's maybe, I think, 4% of the population, mostly male versus female, which is really a high number when you look at total population, but still it's so hard to identify because, I mean, you just look at the struggles people have just trying to identify that's what's been happening all along, and it's been happening for decades.
Yeah.
It became their normal. So, and again, they've been conned, and there's the smoke and mirrors aspect. So it's so complex. It's really hard. And then the other thing is a narcissist is not going to go and seek help unless, again, it benefits them. It makes them look good somehow. And
Yeah.
then they're going to manipulate the therapist and manipulate everybody in the room, because that's what they
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So it's hard. It's, because it's not really reported, And a lot of therapists, I hear this all the time. A lot of therapists don't really know what they're up against when they're dealing with people who have been raised by narcissists or who are in narcissistically abusive relationships. There's so many nuances about it and this is why a lot of people come to work with me. It's like, oh, she's been through it. She totally gets it. She's going to see
Yeah.
and understand me. And I'll hear things from clients who went to therapists who would say things like, sort of a snap out of it kind of thing. And it is not that simple.
No.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. I think especially if it started since you were born, right? There's no snapping out of this.
Yeah.
This is like, and it seems that one of the messages that I hear so often is your body remembers. You may not know the narrative, but your body knows. And it seems as almost that you might have to go through the body in some cases to do so.
Yeah, I think it's necessary. As I
Mm.
say, the body always remembers what you're trying to forget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be reflecting back to you what happened. And that's the fifth wound, actually, is the physical body and how it absorbs the impact of the emotional experience. And it's not just the emotions, too, it's the beliefs. It's the
Mhm.
negative core beliefs that get really lodged in the system. So if you get, beliefs lodged in your stomach, which is your center of personal power in the human energy system, which is one of the things that sets me apart from others, is I look at the human energy system and where are your energetic drains happening.
Mhm.
And I created a technique that helps people to release the emotional root cause of that pain in
Cool.
the body, and then let go of that emotional energy and that limiting core belief. And then I watch them get well. I watch
Yeah.
them get empowered. I watch them be able to change their lives. And it's the most incredible thing. It's what I did for myself too. You know,
Yeah. Well, you had symptoms directly related. It seems that I do you find that there are some like illnesses that are in common, like belly or
For people that
yeah,
are codependent, that are playing the
because wouldn't
codependent.
that'd be all self-esteem in there?
yes, yes, a
Yeah.
lot of digestive issues. Um, because that's the center of personal power is your mental body, and then intestinal issues. So the digestive system, like mine was wrecked. And that second center of the human energy system in your abdominal area, that's your inner child, that's your emotional body. And we often get really disconnected between those two parts of the self. I call it a house divided.
Mm.
And that really looking at your child patterns and your adult patterns. I do have an inner child program that I do one-on-one with people. In addition to it just comes up in therapeutic sessions as well.
Yeah.
But it's a super important piece of the healing, is healing that inner child when they've been through these abuse experiences, and
Mhm.
how that affects the physical body over time. And you asked about other diseases too. Lung diseases are a big one associated
They
with.
just feel like they can't breathe.
Yes,
Literally.
interesting. Yeah, that's a really
Right.
good point. You're right. And breath is your spirit, it's breath of spirit. It's the energy. You can't live without your breath, and you can't live without your energy system. But most of us aren't even really taking care of our energy systems. I imagine people in your community are. They're very aware of that, of consciousness and expanding consciousness and spiritual development and energetic evolution and all of that. So,
Yeah.
uh,
I mean,
but
Meg, I have to be honest. Even though I've been around and I've done this journey and my spiritual journey for over 12 years, there are lots of areas where I still am learning every single day how this affects my body. And I just talked about some of the digestive issues that I still have going on. So there's a lot of work that, that's still there to be uncovered. And I think, and I welcome people to just explore more.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely,
Yeah.
because the body is going to hold this experience, and it's going to have the keys, and the body and the subconscious mind, I really think they're one thing. And when you get into the body and what it's storing and understand that part of the self and how it's been operating, and get to that place where you're just like, you know what? I not only can let it go, I need to let this go. Because on the other side of that, then they get to come into the freedom they've been looking for.
I'm going to be very vulnerable real quick for a second and say that I was a child that had two parents that my father was a drug dealer. My mother was a drug addict at the time. My mother is amazing. She's sober for 10 years and she went off to get her master's and she's working at Disney as a costume designer, like all the things that I've always loved her for. However, as a child, I saw and experienced lots of, odd things. I knew I came into Earth to be a happy child. However, that also comes with some caveats of, you know, being that light being around everyone else, where there's a lot of sadness and a lot of despair around me. So how, and I know that's showing up now,
Yeah.
and this is very vulnerable for me to say, what are some of the things that I should be aware of or be on the lookout for, or start to heal?
Yeah. So, and that again, that's individual to you and what's happening inside of you. And first of all, I'm so sorry you went through all of that, you know, because it really does hang in the system. Um, but it, you know, it takes time. And again, it's meeting you where you are. So what the thing I'm feeling with you the most as you ask this question is there's deep sadness in there. There's grief, which I was going to say the lungs are the seat of grief in Chinese medicine, which is one of the reasons why it's a primary disease associated with narcissistic abuse. And so healing and releasing the grief from wherever it is that you are holding it in your system. And, you know, a simple way for people to begin, and for you, since we're talking to you, for you to really do that next step is, you know, to close your eyes for a moment and take in a deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. And just scan your body and that grief that you've just been talking about. Where do you feel it the most? Heart and throat. Okay. Yeah. And so we call this area as the high heart. So it's the center between self-expression here and self-love, you know, universal love and divine love. And so that area, that's telling me that's where the drains are, that where your sadness is where you're feeling it. And something that people can do that are listening now is, you know, putting your hand on that part of your body and just asking, you know, please help me to release this energy of sadness. And you can do breath, you know, breathing in and breathing out that energy of sadness to help you relieve your body of some of that. You know, we all have the ability to self-heal. Like I think you guys know this really well. We are self-healing mechanisms. Our bodies are. And when we give it that support and that love and that permission, you know, it's like, it's okay to release this. It's okay to let go of what is in your body right now. It can do so much to help you with releasing that energy.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that was great.
Thank you.
Yeah. So then the practice is just continuing to be aware and to work with healing, you know, especially when something might arrive. Like if it, even I guess if you lose your voice, like you know, like often that there's a trend, I think, you know, that could go directly with that self-expression. It's interesting to watch kind of the pattern with things. All
Yeah.
right, is it okay if we take a caller?
Yeah.
Okay,
Great.
all right, Hannah has her hand raised. Go ahead and unmute yourself and say hello to Meg. Hannah, are you there?
Hello.
Oh, there you go. What's your question for Meg? No? We can't hear you if you are speaking. All right, well, maybe she
Maybe she has to
lost
type
her
it in.
voice.
Yes.
You can type it in if you wish, Hannah. All right, I'm gonna go to Lana K. You're up.
Hi, thank you so much for all three of you for doing this. It's so healing just to hear you talk. Um, I had a narcissistic mother, and I'm still, you know, I finally put my foot down when she started abusing my first child. I said, no, I took it from you, but it's my job to protect my child, and I put her out of my life. And I'm on my way to healing. I just don't know what steps to take. And it has, like you all spoke about, have been showing up physically in my body. And um, I'm just wanted to know if you have any advice on how I could, what steps to take towards healing and letting go. And I was also wondering, I wish that she would get better as well, because I feel so bad that she's suffering.
Your mom or
Yes.
your, yeah.
My mom is like, she's very narcissistic, but she's suffering, and I put her out of my life. But I wish that she would also heal.
Yeah, yeah, and that's, one of the things that we'll do is we'll focus on them so much and want their healing, which is very compassionate and empathetic and caring of you. And that's one of the pieces of the puzzle, is really grieving, letting yourself grieve that that's never going to happen. Um, letting yourself get to that place of acceptance, and it's a process. It's not something that happens in a few easy steps. One of the things I'm hearing from you just intuitively is that you feel like you're really in a place where you really want the next level of healing, like you're engaged in your healing process. And that is so important. That is one of the most powerful things you can do, is really make that full-on decision. In fact, that's the first step, I believe, to healing, is making that full-on decision of, what's up next and what do I need to work with next. And working with releasing what I'm sensing with you is that'll be really helpful for you, is working on releasing that energetic tie with your mom, where there's still that pull from your energy. Oh, there you are. It's nice to see your pretty face. So that energetic tie with your mom's energy. And I do energy exercises. That's one of the things I do in my work to help people to release those ties. A lot of people talk about energetic cords, but this is like a different thing when you're looking at narcissistic abuse. They Each person kind of expresses them differently. So one thing you can just do on your own is similar to what I was saying a little bit earlier, is, scanning your body, feeling, where do I feel this emotion, whatever that strongest emotion is for you, that sadness or that fear, because maybe I just feel like there might be fear there for your mom, and sadness that she'll never do her healing work, and that true desire to want that to happen, which is really beautiful, that you still feel so much love and desire for her healing at this point after everything that's happened. Because I know it's been a long road, right? And so feeling, where do you feel that emotional energy in your body, putting your hand on it, asking to release as much of it as you possibly can, asking to release that energy, so that that experience of her continuing to drain you, because even though you may not see it this way, that compassion that you are just giving out to her so willingly and easily is actually draining you and feeding her with more energy. Does that
Wow,
make sense to
that's
you?
amazing. Yeah. I You just showed me a part of it that I was completely blind to. So thank you so much for that. Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah, you're
Thank
welcome. I
you.
mean, traditional psychotherapists will refer to that as codependency, you know, and but I think it's co-energetics, it's just you were trained and they hooked in from, before day one, with whatever story they told themselves about what your mom, you were going to do for her, basically, how you were going to show up for her.
You're 100% right.
Yeah, so send you blessings as you go on your journey. I'm really happy for you that you are working towards your healing. That's where the gold is for you, so you can really become who you were meant to be.
Thank you so much. That was so helpful.
You're so welcome. You're
Yeah,
welcome.
thank you. All right, Hannah said she's fixed her mic, so Hannah, you're up.
Okay, great.
Hey, can you guys hear me okay now?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so Meg, you have described my life story. I was actually just messaging Jeneth directly just in case. But I seem to have hit the narcissist jackpot because I have an overt narcissistic father, a covert narcissistic mother. I have two siblings who are older than me. Each one of them chose a parent to emulate. And so I just was born into this incredibly toxic environment. So everything that you described, that's me. So I have two questions. The first one is I really want to have a healthy relationship with each family member. Is that possible? I'm learning that, especially as I'm on my own healing journey and as I'm loving myself and I'm setting boundaries for myself, it's become harder because some of it I just won't put up with. But I am choosing to have them in my life because they're the only parents and siblings that I have. The second question I have is, as part of my healing journey, I'm a few months into EMDR therapy, and I didn't know if you had heard if this is helpful. I'm actually finding that after each session, I'm leaving more frustrated because it's putting me in memories that are so hurtful, and it's kind of pinging instead of just one event to recover from all the pain of my entire life. And it's too many people around me that are doing it. And I didn't know if you had any advice on whether I should continue that or not, because I'm almost at the stage where I'm feeling like it's actually more harmful than helpful.
Oh, wow. That's very telling right there, Not everybody responds well to EMDR. I mean, I didn't do well with it personally. I just thought I'd share that. But, and, on the one hand, it's stirring up the energy so that you can really know what's next to work on, which is, always a helpful thing. But if it doesn't feel as supportive to you, I mean, I feel like you kind of know the answer to your own question there, and it's a matter of you really finding a therapeutic process that really works for you. And that's a journey. And I would say too that I wouldn't totally discount it in that I think everything that you feel like intuitively attracted to and that you do will help you towards your ultimate, your healing process. Because I love the word to heal, because it really means it's the process of getting well. And so you're on that process. And I often say that as long as you're in a body, the fun never stops, that you'll always have that process and that that you'll be working through. So I hope that's helpful for you. But I feel like the answers to that question about EMDR, you already know the answer to that. Does that make sense?
It does. I feel very similar to your upbringing. And so with you saying that you didn't find it necessarily helpful for you, I relate to that as soon as you said it. So I think it has its place where it can be helpful. I'm just thinking for this specific part of my life, I'm not sure if it's the right therapy.
Yeah, exactly. And everything works, but it doesn't work for everybody,
Yeah, that's
so
true. You've got to be called to it. One of the things that helped me like really know myself better, or help me with self-esteem, was triliminals. I was interviewing this guy, Maury Zelkovich, who did triliminals, which is like basically three different sounds in your head.
Oh, I remember him, and I remember
Yeah,
that now.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really kind of shifted me real fast. They were so incredible, you couldn't think of other things while it was happening. And then you just kept thinking about how confident you were and how empowered you were. And because you had keep hearing this and it almost sounds like it's in your head. I did EMDR before that and didn't really care for it. It made me agitated.
Same. That's exactly how I keep feeling, is so agitated after every session.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was just like, I don't get it.
Lana just asked, did you say it's EMDR?
Yeah.
It's eye movement desensitization. I forget what the R is for. Therapy.
Rapid movement.
But it's something that a lot of traditional psychotherapists have been trained in, because it's kind of like the best that they have at that level, in terms of really, it's ultimately energy exercise. But I've noticed along the way that a lot of empathic, sensitive, intuitive, spiritual types don't do well with EMDR. But again, it's try what you feel led to do and what you think might feel right for you. And then go and try something else if this doesn't feel like it's the place. But you asked the first question, I think is super important to answer. And that was about your family and your family members. And will you ever be able to have a healthy relationship with them? And the only way you can really have a healthy relationship with really anyone else is they need to be working on that relationship, their own relationship to themselves and their relationship to you as well. And so your best bet, in having grown up in a narcissistic family system myself, is that you can get to a place where you have so much empowered self-love and self-respect and self-adoration and self, you can be
Yes.
You can't even let it in because you know yourself so well.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so you get to a point where you can just energetically, they'll start doing their thing and you simply don't engage because all those energetic ties, you're done with them.
Yeah.
Like you've done a lot of work on yourself and you've
You're
got,
aware, right?
And
you just sort of commit to like, I'm going to have this surface level
different.
relationship with these people in my family, and that's okay. That's as far as it's going to get, and that's okay. Narcissistic parents really mess up the sibling relationships. Like, just they pit each other against each other, and then it's very complicated. So, what were you going to say? I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, we talk a lot about that on the show, is that, the reason why we bring on various different speakers that could even be speaking on the same topics and may on the surface seem like they're using the same practices. Every person is different, and how they receive, for the speakers and the work is different. And so, and where people are in their journey and what they're willing to let in is different. So just keep checking in what's light and what's true for you, and, keep choosing from that space. I think another thing that's really cool is that if we're talking metaphysics or from an energetic standpoint, you'll get to a place. Is that what you call the icon, where people are in themselves, that all those selves, that they don't have to have their parents no longer be the teacher anymore, and now you can be all of you, and so that lesson can just fold and be the great lesson that it is and had been for your life.
Yeah, like she was referring to is moving from wounded acon, adult child of a narcissist, to healed icon. And that's the icon of your own life. And that's independent, confident, original, and
I love
naturally
those.
you.
Yeah.
And being the original you, which got completely masked, just stamped out, literally, because there was no space for you to be yourself
Wow.
unless it
What,
benefited the narcissists.
right?
And that's no way to live.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, did that help answer your questions? And do you feel
That
complete?
did. That was incredibly helpful. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Hannah.
that was
Thank you
great
for being
questions.
so courageous and to share.
Yeah.
And Hannah, I wanted to share too, I have a YouTube channel, I have a ton of videos on parental narcissistic abuse that would be probably really helpful for you, where I talk more about the energy dynamics and things that could help you release that. Of course, my whole person integration technique that I created to help release the energy, that emotional energy from the body, might be helpful. So just, check it out, see what feels right for you. And yeah, just check it
Yeah.
out.
Thank you. I'll definitely check that out. I love your energy and I'd love to check out
Yeah.
your resources. Thank you for your help.
You're
That
so
really seems like you're the one that can help people heal from this. Yeah. Can we take one more?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Jeneth, every time I go to say your name, I always blub it.
Ganesha?
Ganesha, you're up.
Hello.
Such a pretty
Hi,
name.
Yeah, it is.
thank you. Hi,
Goodness.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Thank you for taking my question. So, for quite a few years, I've already had like a healthy self-esteem. And I mean, growing up, I didn't have any self-identity, self-expression, self-esteem, but for quite a few years, I've already had good self-esteem, good self-expression, and identity and boundaries. But it seems like there are physical issues that are buried somewhere inside that manifest as um, digestive issues and insomnia primarily. And what can be done about those? They do interfere a lot in life.
Yeah, so my sense of you is that there's you kind of said it already, is that subconscious programming that is interrupting your sleep. That my sense is it has something to do with nighttime growing up and how difficult that was for you, because there's that hypervigilance feeling. And I feel like that when you release that hypervigilance feeling that's sort of embedded in your system, that you'll feel so much better, that you'll be able to sleep more easily. But it was that sort of training of you got to be on high alert, because when you wake up tomorrow morning, who knows what's going to happen next. But something's going to happen, so it's sort of that feeling. Does that resonate with you?
Yes, definitely. But how would I release that?
Well, the method I use, this whole person integration technique, I actually will work directly with what I call the hypervigilant self, or the vigilant self, that part of you that is, and that's so active, because it's sort of like a frenetic energy, and see how you're storing it in your body, and help you to release the thoughts, the feelings, and the beliefs associated with that. So that's specifically what I would do. If you were working with me, um, I don't know, are you already working with some kind of therapist or energy healer, or hypnotherapy might be helpful as well?
Um, well, I tried, for example, one session of hypnotherapy, one session of EFT. I've tried different things.
Mhm.
Um, I find that it's possibly it would take a while to clear up,
Yeah.
or I'm not sure, because I feel like um with the EFT, I didn't really resonate with that so much. I didn't really like it that much. And hypnotherapy, I found it difficult to trust that I'm actually in a state of hypnosis. Like I'm like questioning. I find it hard to relax in that way, really.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like that thing where not everything works for everybody, but everything works. But I would say that more than one session is recommended for really any modality, because that first session, sometimes they're super powerful and you get so much out of it. And sometimes it's just like just scratching the surface. Um, and if you're having, because I just keep feeling this hypervigilant self for you being the thing that is being very protective of you, and you needed that when you were growing up. You don't need it so much now, but it's become like this programmed habit. And so if you can maybe even focus on that, as releasing that part of you that's really lodged in your body and in your subconscious mind, and finding something that feels right for you to do that with, and knowing that it is going to take time, um, and maybe several sessions. It just depends,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, definitely it is that hyper vigilance. Like I might be exhausted, tired, but really um cannot relax my mind or my body.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you tried other things to help that? I mean, there's just so many things out there, sleep fixes and things, but I think it's so much more than that for you.
Yeah.
I yeah, I will explore what you mentioned earlier about I forgot what you called it, a whole body something.
Yeah, whole person integration technique.
Yeah, whole person integration. I'll look into that definitely.
Okay, great.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're so
Thank
welcome.
Thank you, Ganesha, and thank you for being vulnerable and sharing.
So we do have a package that Dr. Meg has created for us. Well, she didn't create it just for us.
But she did give us a really nice
But
discount
there's
to
a
offer
big
to our
discount that goes with it.
Right,
So
to the
I'm gonna
audience.
share my screen and she can kind of go through the package and tell you all about it.
Yeah, so basically, I have an online course called Healing the 5 Primary Wounds of Parental Narcissistic Abuse. And oh, thanks for putting that screen up. That's great. So it's an online self-study course which has energy exercises in it to help you release the energetic bonds that you have with narcissistic parent or narcissistic partner. And it is designed to help you go from wounded icon to healing icon. And they have a specific link that you need to use if you are interested in doing this. But it's a $50 off coupon.
It's at the very bottom of it, and make sure that you get the coupon code at the very bottom down here.
And it's actually discounted generously from what it originally is. So the coupon, you guys, is on top of that. We just really wanted to be make it available so that you could get the. I mean, I know for me, the healing work that you need, and or if it's not from Meg, from somewhere else, but. Thank you, Meg. What was it normally? I missed that part. It was $4.97. So, correct.
It was $4.97, and then I had a half price, the $2.97, and then I'm giving an additional 50%.
Thank you.
Off.
Yes.
Yeah. So
fabulous.
yeah, Spring 24 is the coupon code. So
right here, guys.
Yeah.
And it comes with a private community. I mean, some of these things are very, very valuable. It's not like, hey, let me throw you some MP3s.
No.
And Meg,
I'm not doing it justice with this little page.
This little page, and when you click over, it actually goes to her
full course, so you can see the information.
Yeah, it's huge. So don't that little page isn't really doing it justice, but you do need to grab the coupon code from over there.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, that's where you
yeah.
get it. And then there's also a payment plan.
Like circling things.
Yeah, I don't know how that she's doing that, but there is also is it a 5-pay payment plan? So it really makes it just an easy 6-pay. Thank you. Payment plan. So you could just make monthly payments on it. Is it monthly?
Yeah. Yeah.
You can make, so it makes it so much easier to really choose yourself if you feel like you're struggling here. I mean, I'm saying this from experience, that there is nothing like truly having someone that has experienced it themselves be the person that's taking you through this. So thank you, Meg, so much. I get tears just talking about it.
Well, and I think that sometimes, I tried to bring on the experts of the experts of the experts for this. And it was very clear to me that you are an expert. If you guys really want this healed and healed throughout your body, this is the course for you. There's nobody else that we've interviewed just on this topic. She specifically deals with just this topic.
She does other things.
Yeah, I know. She does other things, but this is her thing. So I just wanted to, the value of taking you out of a hypervigilant state, possibly for the rest of your life, is quite the thing. They recommended through hypnotherapy that it really takes about 6 months to completely clear things. And then they encourage everyone to listen to these hypnotherapy MP3s daily. So it's work to get through something that has been, 18 years of childhood that you've been, fighting off, feeling a little abused, not sure what to do with, feeling judged, feeling wrong. on a daily basis. If you can heal that in 6 months and be a different person, I mean, that's gold.
Yeah, versus
Yeah.
15, 20 years of traditional psychotherapy that you just
Yes.
go
Yeah.
every week, and then you just feel like you're on this hamster wheel of your story over and over and over again.
Yeah. And you might get to some things a little bit on your own. I just think it's incredible. And I'm so glad you're doing this work.
Me too.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. And the people I've talked to so far in the community are just really wonderful.
They are. Thank you for acknowledging them. We've
Yeah.
had some really great people experiencing some really fun changes, and this is deep work, people. I mean, it is, and I've been doing this work for, I've been in my journey for 12 years, and just a couple seconds talking with you, Meg, I've already had, full on tears come up from a past experience. So, be gentle with yourselves, people, everyone here, and know that we are all growing together.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's such great advice. Be gentle with yourself, be kind to yourself. And that's hard, really hard for an ACON because you're so
Well,
used to that
That's
self
what they do. That's how
thing.
they identify themselves now. That makes total sense.
Yeah, it's really hard, but it's reversible. You can definitely reverse that. And it really comes from everything we've been talking about is that self-love, and engaging all parts of the self in your healing process, mental, emotional, energetic, and spiritual, and physical. All those things are one. And then on top of all the stuff I do, there's also the food piece that I help people with, is food to support the body to heal itself, because I was a holistic chef to celebrities for 14 years.
Cool.
Pretty
I
cool.
want you here in my house. That's actually one of the things on my vision board, is that I want a chef. Or I want somebody to cook weekly meals. They don't have to be here every night. I just think that'd be just super cool.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
great. It's amazing. It's a real game changer.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes a huge difference in your emotional state when you're eating foods that aren't anxiogenic, which means anxiety provoking. And there's lots of foods out there that are, and finding out what those are. And that's part of what I help people with as well.
Yeah. You guys, I just put the link in the chat for the special offer. Make sure to go down that first page and then click on the button, but look at the code before you click on the button. And I will write up details around it on the various pages where the special offer is, so that the code doesn't get missed.
Yeah, so it's spring 24, but you can grab it from the page. And if you have any questions or you have any trouble, just you can always write us. It's team@hautehustle.com, spelled this way.
With an
And yes, and anything that we talked here. I mean, we also want to hear for your comments too. So anything that you're having breakthroughs that you may too shy to share here on the podcast or on the show, please let us know. I mean, we definitely want to help support you as well.
Lana asked if there was anything about the correct foods to eat in the course.
Yes.
And she says you're also awesome.
Yeah, and she said you're
Thank
awesome.
you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So are you, Lana.
Oh,
That's so
So are you
sweet.
both. It's just been really wonderful being a part of this and being able to really kind of answer questions intuitively, that there's the openness for that, because that is where the power is in that
Yeah.
intuitive self, and that has those answers to help you. So
Yeah, well, it seems that a lot of people are coming around these days to intuitive help. It's just, it seems like there's so many mainstream things that it's just like, nope, can't go there. So it's kind of fun that we can.
yeah, absolutely, because it's where the gold is. It's where the healing happens,
Right, especially when there are the same symptoms for narcissistic as there are for, as I've been talking about for 2 weeks, perimenopausal, right?
Yeah.
Like some of the same symptoms for something like this from childhood could also be hormonal, or it could be, I mean, I think that everything's created for a reason now.
Thoughts, the beliefs determine your health and wellness
Mm.
illness in your body. And that's where we don't start and where we should be starting.
Mm.
Everything begins with a thought. Every single thing we do. You want to, Steve Jobs comes up with the iPhone,
Right,
Yeah.
right.
and it
Yeah.
was a thought first, and then it became
Yes.
a physical thing. And the same thing happens in our bodies.
Yeah.
So I think the more we start to really get that and incorporate ways of healing from that perspective, the better off we're all going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And the world is changing, so let's see. So Meg, any last thoughts that you want to that's coming through?
Yeah, just I think a primary thing is to take your healing into your own hands, learn to listen to your own inner voice, your intuition. You're leaning towards something, and know that if you lean towards it and it doesn't quite work the way you'd hope to, you're still getting a benefit because your
Yes.
intuition led you there.
Yes. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you don't find you're right. I mean, I didn't go deep into anything until I probably did like 30 to 40 little baby courses, and then I found my people and I was like, diving deep into this work. So I think that that's well said, and it needs to be put out there as a reminder. Yeah.
Many times.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All
Thank
right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste.
All right.